everybody, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I wanted to show you how I made this 3D turtle burger squishy. So to start off with, what I did was drew out a circle shape with a light green coloured felt tip pen, and then I went ahead with a dark green and just kind of drew out this rough pattern to kind of imitate the top of a turtle shell. So what I then did was took the same light coloured green and just coloured in all around, not going in those little shapes that we just made with the dark green, and then I took a medium coloured green and coloured in all the patterns. Once I had the whole of the shell completely done, what I then did was took it on another piece of paper and I just kind of cut this out so that I was left with two circle shapes, one of them in which had that pattern on. On the other circle I then coloured this in plain green and I just used the same medium coloured green that I used before. What I then did was tape these together to make the kind of paper shell squishy shape, and what I did was just covered them all in tape and then just taped them up around the sides. Once the shell was completely taped up, I realised that I didn't actually leave a gap to stuff my stuffing in, so I just kind of cut another little hole into this. What I then did was I stuffed the shell with toy stuffing. Now you can use whatever type stuffing that you want. You can use toy stuffing, shredded bags, paper, bits of shredded fabric, even shredded bits of foam, whatever you have around to stuff this up. So next I just placed the shell down and kind of just drew a rough kind of turtle head shape, kind of like the size that I wanted it, and I just completely covered this in yellow. I also made a really long kind of neck piece on this so that I could attach it to the shell. I then drew on a little kawaii face with my black Sharpie pen and then covered this completely in tape. I did actually use my white Posca pen here to add some highlight, but I actually smudged this off, so I went over the eyes a couple more times until I had them right. So I then took another piece of paper and just coloured this in yellow, and this was going to be the back of the head. So I then cut out the first head shape. As you can see here, like I said, I did smudge the Posca pen. So what I then did was cut out that yellow piece and just turned it over and popped the head down. I then taped this to that back piece, like I said, just to secure it so that I could cut it out into the right shape. And as you can see here, once you flip it over, the whole thing is yellow. I then went ahead and just taped up the head all the way around the edges so that I was able to stuff the head with some toy stuffing also and make it more 3D. So I took some toy stuffing and just popped it inside and then sealed up the rest of the shape with some more tape. What I then did was attach this shape to the turtle shell, and I just did this by sticking it on the back with that neck piece that I left on. I also then went ahead and corrected the eyes once again and decided to leave it to the side so that I wouldn't smudge it anymore. So what I then did was drew around the shell with some red markers, and I just kind of made little stalks coming out of these so that they were like circles on legs, if that makes any sense. The leg bits are just so that I can secure it into the body a bit more. And the reason that I did this in red was because I figured what funner way than to do them as little tomato slices. So I just kind of drew on the rough kind of tomato-y type design with a darker red. I then went in my Posca pen to draw some little dots on, and then I added some yellow to add a bit of shading around it to kind of make the tomato a little bit orangey in places. What I then did was roughly cut out this shape, and taking another piece of scrap paper, I just kind of drew around this roughly and coloured it in the same colour. I basically just did the exact same way as I did the head, so I cut this out roughly, turned it over and stuck the tomato bit on that side so that both sides were completely covered in tape and sellotape together. I didn't actually stuff up the tomatoes like I did the head, I just kind of left them flat as, I don't know, I just felt like it would work better. So I did actually tape around all the sides and both front and back, and then I just sellotape these into the shell like before. I did this twice, but I didn't do the other side on camera as I felt like that would be a little bit repetitive, as you can see what I just did here. So as you can see, I now have 4 little legs on my turtle, and what I did was I kind of drew around the shape again with a brown to kind of get a brown patty-like shape. What I did was just coloured this in, and my pen ran out again. I mean, these pens honestly didn't last that long. I mean, I know I've used them a lot, but I expected them to last a little bit longer than like 4 weeks that I've had them, so yeah, I was kind of disappointed by that. So I actually took a darker brown and just coloured the middle in dark brown, as we wasn't really going to be seeing this bit anyway. So yeah, that's what I just did. I then cut this out the same way as I did the turtle shell, with both bits to kind of go on the front and the back. And I did the back in the exact same way with that colour that I wanted it to be, with the darker colour inside. I then taped up both the front and the back of this paper circle squishy and taped around all the edges once it was fully coloured in. What I then did was stuff this up with toy stuffing once again, and like I said, you can stuff your squishies with whatever you have around. If you don't have toy stuffing, then honestly don't worry, you can still make this DIY. Like I said, shredded bags, shredded foam, shredded sponges even, anything like that that will rise up again will be perfect. So I was actually going to make a piece of lettuce as well to go inside of the turtle, but I decided as the shell was already green, it didn't need any more green, so I moved on with another piece of cheese. Cheese. It's not cheese, I'm going to use it as the tail, but it's cheese. It's a cheese tail. So to make the cheese, I don't know why I'm saying cheese so weird. Cheese? Okay, I'm going to stop saying cheese. But to make that, I just kind of drew out a yellow rectangle and folded it on itself. I then taped up the edges and stuffed it with toy stuffing. I then just taped up the whole thing as a whole once it was completely sealed, and then I just kind of stuck this all together. So in order to stick the beef patty and the cheese bit into the squishy, what I actually did was use some hot glue. So I put loads and loads of hot glue onto the patty and just kind of like pressed it down really hard, and then I decided to pop the cheese on to make it look like a little tail from above. So again, I just stuck loads of hot glue on this, and I actually used some tape for this bit to kind of secure it in place. What I then did was realise I had to make the bottom bit of the turtle, and to do this I just used the same green colour as before, but I made kind of like a green outline with a yellow belly in the centre. Now I know that turtles do have a lighter coloured belly, and that's why I chose to do it yellow, but you can do this in whatever colour you want, but I just coloured mine in yellow like I said and made some green lines on it to add a little bit more detail. So I basically just constructed this bit in the exact same way that I did the patty inside, and I just taped this down to another piece of paper, cut it out so that I had two, and I coloured in the other side. I made this side the same kind of green colour that I used around the outside, and this was just to go inside of the turtle, so this really wasn't going to be seen that much, so it didn't really matter what colour this was, but I felt like I wanted to keep it all the same, as you would be able to see it a little bit anyway. So I basically just taped all this up and then just stuffed it with toy stuffing once again and sealed it shut. So what I then did was just took some hot glue and put lots and lots of it on and just kind of stuck the belly down so that the yellow bit was on the outside. I then just took my tape dispenser and popped this on top of the squishy and just let the glue really set in. So once this was fully set, my squishy was then complete. Now I'm super happy with how this turned out. I mean, I feel like all the colours and stuff like that definitely imitate a little burger. I mean, I don't know if I'm 100% sure if I would have done the top and the bottom in green. Maybe you could do that in like a bun type style with a bit of lettuce in like the middle. But I kind of really like it the way it is, and I felt like if I kept it like green, you would be able to tell it's a turtle, like otherwise you might not be able to tell. But yeah, so a 3D squishy has been requested, a turtle squishy has been requested, and a burger squishy has been requested, so I just basically combined them all together to make up my own concoction of your request. So yeah, I actually really am really happy with how the little tomato pieces turned out, because I actually think they look quite realistic from the front. I mean, obviously they're not realistic, you know, because if I wanted them really realistic, I could have printed a picture off. So yeah, that's a good idea. If you're not very good at drawing tomatoes, print a picture off. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!